the Xs, QNT, and even HBAR. If anything, let's throw in all the ISOs that are related to ISO 222, TC 307, and so on. You're going to want to stick around to the end of this outline. Big update in regards to the RLN, but more importantly, understanding asset-backed institutional staking. Yes, you heard that right. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. I sound a little hoarse. I've been sick since Wednesday of last week. I'm getting over it, but I still have it in my voice. Let's jump into the material. Why does it matter? Let's start off with this first update. It is from the Regulated Liability Network, and it's this guy. You guys might be familiar with him. He's a guy from Citi. His name is Artem Koryenyuk. What a name. Nonetheless, he's on your screen. I want to introduce him. You guys have seen him before in the past. Well, you're going to see him again. It's because he's the managing director over at Citi. And if anything, why point that out? Well, it's because I fast forward to this key area. It's basically this RLN update. Listen to this. We'll come back here in a minute and wrap this all together. I'm telling you flat out, this is the one you want to listen to. Here we go.
Thanks, Charles. Sure. So if we start at the highest level, we obviously know that the industry is evaluating a variety of different solutions to modernize and advance our market infrastructure across the globe. Most of those examples involve thanks, Roy. Most of those examples involve the development of an asset ledger or a cash ledger, many of which are designed in a silo. One of the key theses or hypotheses that we wanted to explore within the RSN concept, which is an evolution and a step forward beyond the original RSN, is the notion of a multi-asset ledger. The notion of bringing assets with cash onto a single paradigm, onto a single network, onto a single infrastructure, deployed for a given market and domain. That was the highest level. The intent there, of course, was to contribute that into the broader body of research and exploration that's happening in the industry, to contribute our perspective as to what is an alternative model that could actually drive additional benefits and efficiencies to the market. More specifically within the project itself, looking at the U.S. market and the U.S. market infrastructure, we can broadly say, without offending anybody, that our market infrastructure could use a bit of a facelift, a bit of a refresh, right? So we're certainly a resilient and efficient infrastructure, but there could definitely be an upgrade. We also probably can accurately say that in some way, shape, or form, our infrastructure is fragmented by asset class, by payment type, and obviously the singleness of money is preserved across various layers in a semi-synthetic way. So the notion or the hypothesis within the project, specifically for the U.S. market, is to explore the essence of reaggregating bonds, treasuries, commercial bank money, central bank money onto a single ecosystem that can orchestrate and interoperate with each other. The intent behind the project was certainly not to try to disintermediate any of the players, but rather come up with a common model and a common settlement system that could ultimately drive efficiencies across the board.
Shout out to our brother Shanny. How do you say quant without saying quant? Right. How about this exercise? Speaking of quant, you got to see this for yourself. Here's some notes that I want to get into. First image is going to come up on your screen. Why do we get into some of these things? Well, I want you guys to understand it's a breakdown. Some of you guys ask and have said in the past, QNT tokens not needed. Are you sure about that? Because when you see things like this, well, if anything, for what we gathered in the research, this is the first time we see QNT fee added to the DLT feed. And if you're a hardcore quant enthusiast, you already know that normally it's added at the gateway level. Why point this out? Well, it brings us to this next particular piece. Because when we get there, well, what do you see? You see, for example, some of these things. And like it says at the top, 200 successfully read smart contracts. You see Hyperledger Fabric. You see Quant Oracle Sandbox Testnet. And you see QRC20. And at the bottom, you see QNT. Why point that out? Well, again, understand that this is getting a little bit different. And, at the end of the day, what about that QRC contract? Well, brings us to this third piece, because like you see here, it's all there. And the next part is this. This is how it's supposed to originally look. Normally, QNT was only the gateway fee, but for some reason, here we have the DLT fee. You have to also keep in mind, when I bring you to this next part, it's the whole idea that, maybe the reason we see some of these things is because Hyperledger, as we know, don't have a native token. Where the case be, I'm not 100% sure. Most researchers aren't. But the point is, things are changing. Are they changing for the good? Well, I think so. And at the end of the day, you got to point out how things are normally put together. Normally speaking, we see things like this and things like this. So, what's going on? Is it definitely worth pointing out? I think the answer is yes, especially when you get new news about what's going on with the RLN. All right, enough talk about the RLN for just a brief moment. Let's take you on over to this particular screenshot. This is from the Bank of England, and the highlight mentions specifically the platform model for a digital pound. Now, of course, a lot of talk about some of these things. What about the United States in the future? Would we see a digital dollar? That's up to debate. But since we're on the topic of Bank of England, you see here that the Bank of England and MIT have, of course, a digital currency initiative. At least that's what it says at the very bottom of this particular page, taken from a PDF. It's the Constellation paper proposed that a digital pound should be designed as a platform model. Under this conceptual model, digital pound would be a public-private partnership. On the public side, the Bank of England would, for one, issue a digital pound, and two, build and operate aspects of the digital pound infrastructure. Key focus, everybody, the terms, infrastructure. Would this include the core ledger and an application program interface, like an API layer? I think the writing is already on the wall. I think we've done more than enough research in regards to this, but if anything, pound it at home. Would this allow private sectors, businesses for that matter, to access the core ledger? Again, back to the gentleman from Citi. Just in case you forgot who that is, it was Artem Korniuk, all right, managing director over at Citi. All right, what else we got in regards to all the material? Well, it takes us over to this. And shout out to Quant SEPA for some of these highlights. As we know, the Regulated Settlement Network, which is the RSN, proof of concept, is an industry initiative built upon the foundation established within the Regulated Liability Network. And of course, United States POC conducted back in 2023 by a subset of United States financial institutions. Just in case you're new to all this, the purpose of the RSN POC was to explore how tokenized securities and tokenized central bank and commercial deposits could be deployed within a financial market infrastructure, FMI, and leveraging shared ledger technology to advance settlement capabilities in comparison to today's standards. To take you to this next part, I want you to understand, as I blow this up, that there's always going to be various industry initiatives across the globe, and they have undertaken or have basically been underway to test how shared ledger technology may resolve existing risks and challenges faced by the financial services industry. Initiatives such as Project Agora. We've been following this for quite a while. But it's also the United Kingdom's Regulated Liability Network, aka the RLN. And don't forget, of course, about the global layer 1, exploring the concept of a unified shared ledger infrastructure articulated by the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, Unified Ledger, and of course, Finternet Papers. So I take you to the next part. I want you to understand use case. For a lot of us, we already do, but for a lot of us who are new, we don't. It's understanding the whole concepts of a 24/7 settlement capability. Will this extend to multi-asset and cross-network transactions? I think the answer is yes. But with the RSN working group, have in fact what is referred to as a selected 5 use cases to depict the flexibility and scalability of the RSN as a settlement ecosystem, which could potentially serve as the next generation for multi-asset and cross-network settlements. And here's some of the emphasis, everybody. The emphasis is what you literally see on the screen, because when we get to the end of the outline, you will see how I tie this all together. It's client to client investment grade IG bond. For example, delivery versus payment settlement, DVP, centrally cleared dealer to dealer treasury DVP settlement, cross network DVP settlement, and of course, cross network correspondent bank settlement. But what about that intraday repurchase repo? Don't forget about that. So take you to this other area. Understand how even Swift comes into the picture. How so? Well, it's what you see here. Remember how we just talked about repo? Well, what do we have in regards to repo, and what do we have in regards to Swift? Well, if Swift is having a mandate in regards to ISO 222, well, wouldn't that involve some of these things with the terminology? I think the answer is yes, but it's understanding the workflows. Don't ever deny it. Don't ever dismiss it, because when you look more into it, you can clearly see some of the things that was even referenced from this recent RLN meeting. How so? It's the Fed cash partitions. Bank A, tokenized central bank deposit. Bank B. Again, everything coming together and taking it to the next level. The next level would be going from Swift MT messaging system to what? The new thing with ISO 222. Who is the real orchestrator behind it? I think you guys know the answer to that by now. Just in case you're new, for me, it's Quant Network all the way. So take you to this next part. Nice screenshot from Quant Papa. What do you see? You see cross-network correspondent bank settlement high-level design. Yes, it's an illustrative design, but again, Fed cash partition. Again, understanding tokenized central bank deposits, but again, understanding the whole orchestration workflow. Let's take you to this next part. Look what you see even here. Back to the whole example that we talked about before. DVP settlement, high-level design, and even MasterCard part of the mix, like we point out before, with Hedera, with Quant, with Stellar. How so? Well, you may not see it on the screen at the moment, but those are all confirmed earlier this year. And if anything, that's profound. Let's take you to this next area. Understand that when we talk about some of this, how do we really have centrally cleared dealer to dealer DVP settlement? And again, it's understanding how trade comes into the mix. Because when we talk about trade, well, wouldn't that lead us to things like XDC? Yes. But before we get into that part, I want you to understand this. This is from BETAALVE leveraging.nl. It's kind of a hard term to mention since this is in Dutch. But even with the Dutch, Swift Open Banking Extensions Working Group, Cross-Border Payment, and Reporting CBPR, Swift NL User Group. Again, is this Greek? No, it's Dutch. Ha, making a joke. But what do you see here? You see a little bit more of that orchestration. Swift even provides a network that enables financial institutions worldwide to send and receive financial transaction information in a secure, standardized, and reliable environment. But does Swift also sell software and services to financial institutions? Yes and no, but look what it says. Much of it is for use of SwiftNet network, and it's their particular standard with ISO 9362. Why point this out? Because it leads us to here. If you were to go over to this particular one in regards to ISO 9362, you see all about the whole thing of Swift BIC, Swift ID, and we've been there and done that when it comes to, for example, IBAN. But when I got further down, I wanted to see the area about SEPA. And of course, that brings us to just that, SEPA. Now, this is not a deep dive about SEPA, but understand that when you see terms like this, that in the past SEPA payments require both BIC and IBAN, and how since 2016, only the IBAN is needed inside of SEPA, which if you're new to this is European Union and some other countries, will understand that, SEPA, that sounds familiar. Of course it does, because it leads us to what? SEPA always leads to Quant. And under the new regulation, which is coming up soon, everybody, 2025, payment service providers will in fact be expected, to implement instant payments in a short time frame or just the implementation of existing instant payment infrastructures. You're wondering where this is from? This is straight from the Quant network. All PSPs offering SEPA payments will be mandated to offer SEPA instant payments, and charges applied by PSPs in respect to instant credit transfer transactions in what, everybody? Euro cannot be higher than the charges applied to instant credit transfer transactions in Europe. All PSPs in the Eurozone would be required to enable their clients to receive SEPA instant payments by the 9th of January 2025 and send SEPA instant payments by October 9th of 2025. Okay, I covered this before. I get that. That's why I don't want to put a lot of emphasis just on that whole area. But when we talk about this, talk about alternatives to SWIFT, well, it leads us down to this. A lot of you guys already know about this. It's Impel, it's XDC, that announcement about official launch. I've already been there and done that. But I want you guys to understand, don't ever forget the terminology in regards to solutions that quickly and securely send ISO 222 compliant financial messages. But that option for XDC is collateral for instant settlement. Bridge to the R3 core to platform. Impel, just in case you didn't know, was created as a cost-effective alternative to legacy financial messaging solutions like SWIFT and SEPA, providing an interoperable standard for financial data exchange while also streamlining settlement and reconciliation. So come back into the frame for a moment. I want to take a pause on this for just a brief moment. So it's understanding that, we have XDC and Quant. We have Quant and R3. We have XDC and R3. That will always be profound moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, that leads us to this. When we jump into this, straight from datatracker.ietf, yes, the Internet Engineering Task Force, you see here on this particular PDF, what's it say? Institutional tokenization, issuance of interoperable digital assets. And does it mention gold? Yes. Physical asset, for example, gold, real estate. What about tokenized money? As we know, Quant is doing programmable tokenized money. And if anything, they're one of the main ones leading that charge. And yes, we have some Ripple XRP and some of these other ones to get into as well. But tokenized money, commercial stablecoin, CBDC, tokenized deposit, programmable, for example, British pounds, yeah, and even securities. So we do see the other statements. And just in case if you're wondering, does it really cite Quant? Yeah, right here on bottom. It's kind of time. 2022 Quant Network Limited. All right, I'm going to take it in this next part. I've cited this before as well, but I want to pound it home that much more. You have this particular citation from Etsy. Once again, Etsy sends Senelec Workshop, EU Digital Identity Framework Standards, ISO TC 307, Joint Working Group 4, Julian Bringer. And you see here, Calstech and ISO TC 307, Joint Working Group 4 Code Conveyor. Again, is it a nothing burger? No, of course not. Why? Brings us to this, smartvalor.com. Posted in 2018, but I'll pound it home even here recently. Why? Well, Smart Valor back then was officially accepted as a financial intermediary. Again, the terminology. When we talk about that global layer one, when we talk about the regulated liability network, when we talked about the regulated settlement network, when we need a marketplace for tokenized alternative investments, remember I just showed you alternative in regards to XDC. Well, the answer would be yes. Just in case you didn't know this, Smart Valor, their mission is to give access to digital assets to people around the world in an easy, secure, and compliant way. All right. How so? Through tokenization. Well, what else? Well, understand that when we get more into some of the key things of being asset backed, brings us to the Smart Valor white paper PDF. This gets really, really good because when you get into the weeds about this, well, Smart Valor, built on the Swiss crypto-friendly regulation, the Valor platform, is an online investment platform with a focus on alternative investments such as cryptocurrencies and non-security tokens, protocol, utility, and payment tokens. Like how it says protocol. But asset-backed? Yeah, asset-backed, everybody. Such as equity in young companies, real estate, crypto funds, venture capital, private equity. What else? Well, it's the sections. Who is this for? Well, the transfer of ownership of any asset-backed token is issued on blockchain and can equally fast and secure, cost efficient. But look what it says when you get more into that nitty-gritty. Talks about, again, the whole thing about crypto and some of these other things. But what I like is what it says in regards to alternative investments and expanding $7 trillion worth of that, right? Well, private equity, venture capital, biggest category representing around 1/3 of all alternative investments. That's interesting. What about the issuance of asset-backed tokens? Will that lead us to smart contracts? Will that lead us to legal structuring due to diligence or due diligence? Yes. What about the whole thing of tokenization functionality in regards to asset-backed tokens? Which ones can handle a limited partner paper contract in the millions of dollars? Ooh, will that lead to some of the things that was reported lately that made the news in regards to, NFTs having a functionality other than just being used for JPEGs? Right. A lot of receipts are going to be printed, everybody. But would those receipts be utility based? NFTs? I think the answer is yes. All right. What else? Well, can we create secondary markets for tokens? This gets interesting. I know this is a deep dive, but when do I not do a deep dive? Valor platform performs as the marketplace for initial listing and secondary trading of asset-backed tokens and coins. Blockchain enabled real-time execution, settlement allows for automated 24/7 trading and higher liquidity. Say what you want. Higher liquidity could also lead to higher token price, coin price, so on and so forth. But by having something asset backed, everybody, those tokens, such as equity, real estate, crypto funds, venture capital, and so on, well, you got like the terminology to say the least. Because that also brings us down to this. All of the above requires a mechanism to be consolated, with the nature of asset-backed tokens. What kind of mechanisms? For the purpose, the identities of the participants and provenance of their assets should be managed. Think about this. This does not necessarily mean that they should, disclose their identities to all parties involved, but they should at least provide cryptographic proof of the funds that are cleared and AML requirements that are satisfied. At the end of the day, like Gilbert Verderian pointed out, it's the whole thing of not just internet value, but internet trust. All right. Speaking of which, funny how I mentioned trust. There's literally a thing called the trust token. You're more than welcome to look more into that yourself. All right. I want to jump more into this. Just in case you're new, why point out smart Valor, Maximus? Again, Julian Bringer, doctorate, PhD, chief security and cryptography, and co-founder. And what does it say? Has over 50 U.S. patents. He also headed cryptography and security expertise for a team of 6 years. And what's it also say? Part of ISO TC 307. He's one of the conveners as well. Yeah, that's definitely worth pointing out. All right. Speaking of smart Valor, this gets really interesting. Well, remember how I mentioned that there's some things going on in South Korea in my last video? This brings everything to light. Because what you see here from Olga Feldmeyer from Griffin AI, always interesting to see these AI connections with Quant. Smart Valor is coming to South Korea. Amazing country leading light in crypto. #1 global leader in innovation rankings. Early stage companies. I mean, I know this is a while back, but to me, this all makes sense about the whole thing of South Korea doing this whole thing with Bank of Boston, for instance. Interesting to see the connections because the connections were already there a while ago. All right. So I have some XRP for you, but I want you guys to understand all these big players part of the regulated liability network. XRP, Ripple's part of that, Stellar's part of that, Quant's part of that, Dare's part of that. Confirmation of institutional staking with XRP. My goodness. July 30th, 2024. It's funny to see even our brother Smoke. I wasn't even looking up Smoke's, his research, but that came up. So shout out to our brother Smoke. The recent announcements of Valour digital securities, and this is not the same Valour, everybody, but worth pointing out, outlining his plans for XRP and XDC physical staking products, has ignited significant interest within the crypto community. Yeah, and look what it says: Valour Digital Securities, a Jersey registered company, is set to issue digital securities that are exchange traded products, ETPs, linked to digital assets. This is huge. And I know that maybe a lot of people report on this, but there's an update even in regards to this. So I didn't want to just give you something old. But interesting to see this and building out an ecosystem. And if anything, institutional staking, everybody. Because even in the research from Smoke, well, do we have confirmation of that? 2024 legal perspectives from Valour Digital Securities. You see this. Okay. And the important part is this. Look how many times you see XRP. Look how many times you see XDC. And look at the particular dollar denominations. Look at the particular currencies, right? British pounds, euros, so on and so forth. So it's there. That's confirmation. That's awesome. All right. Here's an update. This is from globnewswire.com. Valour announces the mega launch of 20 new digital asset ETPs on Spotlight stock market. Remember how we said that eventually you start seeing some of these on the stock market? Yeah. Look at this. December 12th. Literally yesterday. Yeah, I believe that's yesterday. All right, a whole bunch on this list. And no, you don't see XRP on this list because they already announced that a while back. But here's the cool thing. If you're to go over to Valour.com, what do you see? You even see our beloved Hedera. Yeah, Hedera even has some of this physical staking. And as I take you more into this, what's it say from Valour.com? Exchange traded product that tracks the price of HBAR, the native token. And he gives you a product overview. And, I guess you could say some of that expected yield. Some people feel as though that's not enough. Hey, call it what you want. But for some people, this is access. And as we know, even bringing the legacy market to give those people access, that's big. Why is it big? Leveraging its innovative hashgraph consensus mechanism, Hedera ensures efficiency, scalability, sustainability, right? People are going to want to know more about that. Even the non-crypto people. Again, it's how we bring this to legacy markets. And as I take you to this next part, what about XDC? December 12th. Look at this. Just in case you're wondering about some of this stuff, right? I'll get more into the XDC example. I want to show you this. Ambitious growth goals. Valour aims to expand its product offerings to 100 ETPs by the end of 2025. Say what you want. That's more liquidity, everybody. Reinforcing it as a position as a leader in democratizing access to digital assets through traditional exchanges. Again, traditional exchanges, legacy systems, so on and so forth. What about Ripple? Boom, it's there. And here's the last part. This is from PDF. Valour ABS-based perspectives. Look what it says just real quick before we wrap it up. It says here, plain as day, that the digital currency forming part of the exposure for a particular class of individual securities will be the digital currency specified in the relevant final terms, such as currency must always be one that is among the 124 digital currencies listed below. All right, awesome. What ones? Well, we even have Algorand. Do we have like Stellar? Yes, we have Stellar. What about our beloved Quant? We have Quant. Well, I should just typed in QNT. There it is. QNT. So my point is, this is all here. Institutional staking? Sign me up, but sign them up. This means more tokens locked up, more coins locked up, any way you want to dice it. So there's the newest updates that I bring it to you guys. And I know I sound hoarse, but I didn't want to be absent longer. So thank you for bearing with me with my voice. I'm glad to bring this to you guys. I thought it was important. And if anything, I'm going to fight through my problems with my voice and bring you guys some more updates. Glad to be back in some capacity, right? And if anything, do me a favor if you appreciate the coverage. Simply type this into the comments, and that is INS as in institutional or institutional staking, and I'll know that you listen to the entire outline. I appreciate you guys listening to these outlines. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. So, with that said, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. It's just a few taps. You can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.